Eagles. Let's play a little game because this Jalen, right, honey, this Jalen Hurts stuff has gotten insane. For like over a week, it had been nothing but disrespect to our QB. I made a video, talked about it. A lot of other Eagles content creators made videos about it. But now it seems that these arguments have been so retarded that you have people starting to come out the woodwork talking about what are these other guys talking about, and they've made some of the same points that I've made. Not to say they got them from me, but we share like minds on the topic. So we're gonna play a game that is whatever the argument is against Jalen Hurts, how it proves how he is great. Okay? So just for instance, they'll say he has too many weapons. But then, and that makes him not good. But then they'll say Jaden Daniels is going to get better in this season because he has more weapons. Can we already see how bad this argument is getting? Jalen Hurts is not a good QB or not elite. Well, they don't say he's not good. Let me rephrase that. They don't say he's not good. They say he's not elite and he's not in the top 5 or 6 or almost even 10 because he's got weapons. But they will say when people get weapons, they get better. Oh, Jaden is going to be so much better. He's got Debo. He's got this. He's got all these pieces that are moving in. He's going to be better. They'll say, Patrick is going to be better. His O-line is been beefed up. So now Patrick is going to be better. But Jalen's great O-line is a detractor. They'll say, oh, Jalen has an amazing running back. But then say, oh, well, Lamar's got an amazing running back. But with King Henry running all over the field, getting almost 2,000 yards last season, isn't a detractor against Lamar. But isn't a detractor against Lamar. But for Jalen, somehow it is. Now, the one thing that we will separate for Lamar and Jalen is not only did King Henry run a lot, but Lamar had some really decent stats besides the run, right? So we will concede to that. However, what we cannot do is say that Lamar has won. I looked this up. Lamar's postseason record is 3-5. Okay? 3-5. And you know what happened in this last season? They didn't give King Henry the ball. They didn't let him run when the passing wasn't getting the job done. And this is what we are saying about Jalen Hurts, which makes him a QB. He doesn't try to fit a square peg into a round hole. He finds out what's your weakness, and he attacks that weakness. If you have, right, honey? If you have terrible run defense, we're going to run all over you. That's what we're going to do. If you have good run defense, we're going to throw it. If you have a balanced defense, then we are going to balance our attack and try to throw you off kilter. We're going to run RPOs. You don't know if we're going to run. You don't know if we're going to throw. That is a great quarterback, not one that tries to force throws. Then they'll say, Joe Burrow has amazing talent around him. Maybe the best receivers. But then say that Jalen Hurts' great receivers are a product of why he's not that great. Oh, well, they got AJ, they got Smitty, they got Calcaterra, they got Goddard, they got Jahan, they got everybody and their mama to throw to. AJ Brown. Yes, and AJ Brown. And this is the problem. This is the problem with Hurts. So he should be throwing it to these guys more instead of picking apart defenses and making sure that we win the game. I recall a time that to be the best, you had to beat the best. That used to always be a thing. It is unanimously understood amongst all NFL fans and analysts that Jalen Hurts has outplayed Patrick Mahomes in his three. Huh?
And we went to the parade, and there was a lot of Eagles fans.
Yes, we did go to the parade. We had a parade, like my grandbaby said. We had a parade. Did Lamar Jackson have a parade? No. And again, this isn't a dig on him. This is get these analysts' heads out their rear ends. Okay? Lamar isn't hosting any parades. Josh isn't hosting any parades. Joe Burrow isn't hosting any parades. Yet these guys are unanimously rated above him. And like I said, Lamar's 3-5 in the playoffs. We got Joe, who is, I think, 5-2 in the playoffs. Okay, I got it all up here. Josh is 7-6 in the playoffs. Patrick is 17-4. This is why I say Patrick. We're not even talking about that. The body of work speaks for itself on Patrick. He's number one. Patrick 17-4, and then we got Jalen Hurts, who is 6-3 in the postseason. So you see how his numbers with his time in the postseason, plus 2 Super Bowl appearances and 1 win against the league's boogeyman, has elevated him above these other guys. We got this one guy. Like I said, I have all of these up. We have this one guy. What's his name? Brian or something like that. He was on. Yeah, we're number one, honey. We're number one. I thought I had it up. I guess I don't. We had this one guy, I think his name was Brian, and he was talking to Dan Orlovsky. He says this comically, in my opinion. Joe Burrow makes your Super Bowl window open at any time. Okay, he's had all these years. Where's the win? Josh Allen opens up your Super Bowl window anytime. Where's the Super Bowl appearance? Now, Joe has won, but he lost. But Josh, where's the appearance? Lamar Jackson gives you a Super Bowl win at any time. Where's his appearance? Jalen has 2. And then they'll say, oh, well, the AFC is full of elite quarterbacks and the NFC is just an afterthought. Not realizing that Jalen is like 14-2 against the AFC. He's beaten Burrow. He's beaten Josh. He's beaten Lamar. He's beaten Patrick. Again, these top 4 people that are over him, and he beat Jaden, which they're trying to put in front of him. Now you tell me, right, Jaden Daniels, you tell me, as great as his season was, he took a losing franchise and made it a winning franchise. Jaden Daniels, we're talking about. He took his team to the NFC Championship game. As far as they've been in 30 years, and and even before Dak has had 10 years to do it. He's done that. So we cannot take away last year's success from Jaden. But how do we then translate that to future receipts without a body of work like Jalen's body of work? Jalen has the winning pedigree over years with new coordinators and new everything. Still produces, still in the playoffs every year. Jaden's had 1. They talk about sophomore slumps all the time, but apparently it doesn't apply to Jaden, right? It doesn't apply to him. They talk about, I have an analogy for this that I thought about earlier before I was going to make this video. If I flip a coin once and call heads and it lands on heads, are you then going to tell me that I can predict every coin flip and say that I'm going to make it all the time? No, you can't do that. You have to take things slowly. You can't jump on bandwagons. This is exactly why I said in videos that I didn't jump on the Saquon bandwagon at first, right? They said he was great. Yeah, that's Super Bowl 59. They said he was great, and I hadn't followed him because I didn't follow the Giants. But I was like, how's he going to gel with the team? How's he going to perform in our system? And he did great. He did absolutely great. And I'm thankful for him. But he's one piece of the puzzle, not the entire thing. Our quarterback is the one pulling all of this together. You mean to tell me that a quarterback who looks at a defense and comes out with a plan, but sees the defense is ready for that plan and calls an audible and switches it up, or motions to find out what the read is, and then picks apart that defense, doesn't make you a good quarterback. The only thing that makes you a good quarterback is if you throw it a lot. So these are some of the crazy arguments. We even had a guy on the Rich Eisen show who's the resident Cowboys fan who was like, what in the world are people talking about? How can Jalen be below Herbert and Goff and all these other people? Now, I will say, and a lot of people, I don't think either understand this or know this, Goff has been to the Super Bowl once and been to the NFC Championship twice with two different franchises. So that does speak volumes to him, but he hasn't won. Winning is what matters in all of this. Winning a Super Bowl. If you ask Josh or Lamar or any of them, which would they rather have? I'm gonna move you over here, honey. Which would they rather have? A regular season MVP or a Super Bowl MVP that Jalen Hurts has? Which would they take? Every one of them is going to say the Super Bowl MVP. So if the players themselves value that sort of production and that win, what does that say about how we should think about their performance and what they've been able to do with the time that they've had? That noise is funny. So another thing that kind of bothers me about all these talking points is there were two young ladies who were on, I guess it was an ESPN show or NFL show. I hadn't ever seen them before. I don't know who they are. It was on ESPN. It was on ESPN2. And they were talking about, they regurgitated, in my opinion, a line that has started to catch fire. If I'm starting a new franchise, I want one of these other guys, and I don't want Jalen. Okay? Hold on, honey. Let's take it down this path. Let's say you start a franchise with Josh. What are you going to do with that franchise? Are you going to take people off the street and put them around them and expect them to win? No. Even she knows that. You're going to try to find the best talent you can and stack it around Josh, like Stephon Diggs and like Jamar Chase with Burrow and like Kels with Patrick. You are going to find talent and try to make sure that your quarterback has the pieces necessary for you to win. You're going to try to find defenses that stop your opponent from scoring. That's all part of it. But somehow, magically, these are all detractors against Jalen. That his defense is great, that his offense is great, that his team is magically stacked and the best team ever. When if you check these guys' records last year, after every win, they would praise the Eagles for the win slightly, but then say, I don't think they can do it again. This next opponent, they're not going to be able to do that. They're not going to be able to run. They're not going to be able to throw. And then what did they have to do after the game is over? They were great. It's one in the trenches. They got the trenches, guys. But then when the next opponent comes, I'm talking about this praise is so fleeting. It lasts 2 minutes, which is why Nick Sirianni's message about treating praise and criticism like perfume, smell it but don't drink it, is poison, is great. It's a great philosophy. Because even though you won, it doesn't guarantee your next win. It doesn't. Then another thing these analysts never do, which is surprising to me, is they don't talk about wins over. Uh-oh, you started playing it. They don't talk about wins over teams with winning records. Okay? So you'll have stat patterns, like, unfortunately, the Cowboys. I'm sorry to have to bring them in. They just fit the discussion. They will obliterate bad teams, throw up all kinds of gaudy numbers to make their stats look good on paper. Because you could go to just pure stats and be like, oh, Dak's got this, Dak's got that. He's got these 12-win seasons. He's clutch. He's this and that. But then when you look at his wins, when you get granular with the data, and you look at wins over teams with 500, that data starts to fall flat. That curve all of a sudden starts to crash. But when you look at Jalen Hurts at teams over 500, those numbers start to look amazing. Again, beating the league's top people. So anyway, these ladies are like, I'm building a franchise. I don't want Jalen. I want these other guys because they expect him to throw 3,000 times and not win. But that makes them great. Like that one guy who, like I said, was sitting in for Nick. He says, what do I want to see from Jalen? I want to see him throw a lot. Throw. But Brew counters with a good point. He says, what if Jalen keeps winning? Because Patrick's stats for the last few years haven't been great. But he has so much winning that the stats don't matter. And I like that. I like that take. I can get with that to a degree. If Jalen and the Eagles keep winning, which they have, which they've been great, then the stats will cease to matter. You'd be like, who cares how many times he throws it? He's a 2-time Super Bowl champion. He's a 3-time Super Bowl champion. He's a however, be careful, honey. He's a however many times Super Bowl champion. That will matter. Brew then says he does want to see Hurts throw more, but I only want to see Hurts throw when he needs to. I do not want the Eagles to change up the formula at all. You find out where the team is weak and exploit it. That's all you need to do. You coming back? That's all you need to do. Find out where they're weak and exploit them. It doesn't have to be complicated. Okay? If Jalen needs to win it throwing 50 yards a game, win it like that. If Jalen needs to throw 500 yards a game, win it like that. Win whatever's necessary to win, do that. Here's another argument that works against people, Nick. Right. And I'm surprised he actually did come to Jalen's defense in some of these later talks. Because he's like, hold on. Even now, we're getting beyond realistic. Nick is famous for saying that the Chiefs season doesn't start till the postseason. Everything else is practice. He has even gone as far as saying their season may not even start until the AFC Championship because they've been to it 7 times in a row. Even though we all know playoffs is win and go home, right? But their season doesn't start till then. So if it doesn't start till then and what you see from Patrick doesn't matter during the regular season, why does Hurts not throwing the ball in the regular season matter? When we see in the post that he can do it easily. When we see him do it against Washington. When we see him do it against the Chiefs. When we see him do it whenever he needs to. Against the Steelers, against the Ravens. Why does it then matter for Hurts but not for and the Eagles, but not for Patrick? He'll say that that's when they turn it on. They have a different button. They have a different mode. They have a playoff mode. And they don't switch until then. So that could be the exact same that the Eagles. They're not, all their regular season stuff needs to just be thrown out and not even accounted for. Well, maybe he says that because, again, Patrick's body of work is too large. If he wants to come back with that argument, then okay, I can see it. That Patrick is just one too much, and that's why. It's not just because of his name only. It's because of how much work he's done. Jalen is number 2. I'm just going to keep it funky with you. He's the only one of these quarterbacks, besides Patrick, who has been to the Super Bowl twice. Joe's been once, Josh has been 0, Lamar's been 0. And they say the wall is Patrick. Every time the Eagles play Patrick, they play him well. They beat them in the regular season. They beat them in the Super Bowl. And they almost beat them in the last Super Bowl except for that hold where they drew down the clock. Then the other guy, I know what I meant to say. I'm sorry for jumping around. The other guy, I think his name was Brian, was like, you're not afraid of Patrick. If you're not afraid of Patrick Mahomes, it's because you never played him. What is he talking about? The Eagles have played him and beat them. What is there to be afraid of? He's a great quarterback. We need to treat him just like we treat every other team, with caution, with keeping our head on a swivel and with making sure we don't make mistakes. We don't turn the ball over, this, that, or the other, or give them too much leeway. You saw what happened in the Super Bowl. The man threw up 20 points with like 2 minutes on the clock. We got our backups in, and everybody's pouring Gatorade on the coach and everything. And meanwhile, Patrick's out there racking up points. That's because we let the foot off the gas. We had already won it. But stuff like that can come back to bite you with any quarterback, but especially with a great one like Patrick and Brady. So you got to always be vigilant. But yeah, I mean, this stuff is inconceivable how they're treating Jalen and the Eagles, and how all of a sudden they're the greatest team to ever live. You know, I'm just air quoting that, but that all these other teams haven't had good players or good systems. Oh, they'll call him a system quarterback. I think there's two ways to look at a system quarterback. Did the system predate you and they put you in it and made you conform to it? Or is the system specifically built around you? Is the system specifically meant for you to be successful by putting a piece here and putting a piece there? And with Hurts, it is clear as day that the system is built around him. You know why? Because when Kenny Pickett was in or when Tanner McKee was in, it was not the same thing. They weren't having design runs for McKee and Pickett, which is what I've said in previous times. You have to treat Jalen as a runner because he'll get off on you quick. The system is made around Jalen, and then they have a side playbook for the backup quarterbacks. Okay, you can't do what he can do except for the shove they did with Kenny, but it didn't look as clean. Remember, they had to do it like 3 times against, was it the Cowboys? I think they had to do it 3 times against the Cowboys until he finally went in the end zone and got his helmet knocked off. It's still possible, but it isn't as effortless as it is with Jalen. They needed to really, really hone in with him. But everything else, you see, they change up the whole playbook. This was kind of what they did with, not kind of, this is really what they did with Wentz and Foles, just to get off track a little bit. The Eagles specifically made the playbook and the plays around Wentz, around his strengths. That type of system QB is the one that you want, where everything is built around how good you are so that you can be better and so you can succeed. Versus, again, trying to put a square peg into a round hole and saying, hey, you can throw the ball. This is how we want to run our offense. Try to figure it out and get with it. And that's definitely not what they do with Jalen Hurts. The tables have started to be more even now with real not pundits, I don't know what I'm talking about, real analysts, if they can call themselves that, or real media personalities coming out and saying, listen, Hurts is that dude. He does everything you ask of him. He does more than the other people that you praise. And, are you sleepy? Why'd you go lay in there and lay under the cover? Oh, my little princess is tired. He does everything that you ask of him. And he's not infallible, but he is amazing. And Hurts, number 2, you heard it from me if you don't hear it from nobody else. And again, this is all for us. This is all semantics for us. Hurts is minding his business. He's somewhere relaxing, being cool, calm, and collective, and that's what I want him to do. I want him to be ice and get in there and win us another one. It doesn't matter how we get it, as long as it's ethical and we're not cheating. I want another one. Super Bowl 60 for the Eagles. Ooh, sounds good. Any Super Bowl with Eagles attached to it sounds good. But Super Bowl 60 back-to-back sounds really good. Really good. I can see that. I can see that as a possibility. Even with 12 or more wins on the season, I can see that as a real possibility. I think one other thing real quick, I think people forget that last year, if Saquon didn't drop the ball against the Falcons, and Smitty didn't drop the ball against the Commanders, we would have been 16-1. The same as the Chiefs. We really got our tails kicked in by Tampa, and I'm hoping this year that we dig in and get that monkey off our back and beat Tampa. But other than that loss, we lost by 2 drops, and we would have had 16-1. Just let that sink in. They're still losses, but look how minuscule they were. Just like the toe with Lamar playing Patrick, and he was out by a toenail. Something small like that. But I think that's more inconceivable than just 2 drop passes. I don't know. I know it's a long one, but I enjoy the fact that now there are people who are actually saying that Hurts is not this terrible QB that needs to be overlooked, and that he's a force to be reckoned with. And it doesn't have to be how you like it. It doesn't have to be the old pocket passer. It doesn't have to be the person who can throw 500 times in a game. It needs a QB in this league, with the way that it's adapted, the way rules have changed, the way that things are now. A QB in this league has to be like a Jalen Hurts. And you know why? The results are there to prove it. The results are there. He's a Super Bowl winning MVP. And he dismantled the greatest team. The Bills, who you guys say are amazing. This is the Bills, who they just played before, who tried to run the Temu version of the tush push, that the Chiefs stopped in their tracks, couldn't even get an inch. Hurts dominated them. Hurts dominated them with his arm. But yet Josh is resoundingly better. Well, honey, I see it. But Josh is resoundingly better. It just makes no sense. Hurts number 2. Fly, Eagles, fly. Go Birds.